Well, good afternoon, everyone. Great to be with you today. I'm Jay Persog with EY. My role in the firm, I'm responsible for our emerging technology relationships. Lots of companies like yourselves bringing the innovation to our clients. And today, I have the honor of having a fireside chat with Mr. Andrew Ng. Andrew, I don't think you need an introduction. I'm pretty sure everybody here is aware of you and your fantastic career. Right now, Andrew is executive chairman and founder of Landing AI, and we'll spend some time talking about your latest venture today. In addition to his work with Landing, he co-founded Coursera, and we're a big user of Coursera, great product.
Thank you.
Obviously, he's transformed online education for millions around the globe. Prior to that, he served as the founding leader of Google Brain and also as chief scientist at Baidu, where he led AI efforts that have had a profound impact on the industry. So Andrew, again, my distinct honor and pleasure to be with you this afternoon. Welcome.
Thank you.
So let's start the discussion and let's talk about visual AI. Share with us how you see this space, where it's moving to. Maybe talk a little bit about your inspiration with your latest venture. Help us understand the world the way you're seeing it today.
Oh, yeah. Thank you, Jay.
Yeah.
It's great to see everyone. I might stand up for this. So there's so much going on in AI. What I thought I'd do is share a high-level view of what I think are a handful of the most important trends that will affect everyone here probably, with a particular emphasis on one thing I'm excited about, which is visual AI and the rise of agentic visual applications. So hard to distill everything going on in AI into 5 trends, but that's what I'm going to try to do. Agentic AI is significantly expanding what we can do with the technology. Agents used to have a technical meaning until about 6 months ago. A bunch of marketers got a hold of it and started slapping on everything. But I'll share with you how the technical community thinks of agentic AI. By the way, can you hear me okay, or is there a bothersome echo? No. Okay, only I hear the feedback. Louder? No, is it okay? Okay, awesome, thank you. So this is how many people use large language models today. You write a prompt, and it's like going to a human, or in this case, going to an AI, and asking it to type out an essay for you by writing from the first word to the last word all in one go without ever using backspace. And humans, we don't do our best writing by being forced to write in this completely linear order, one word at a time. But despite the difficulty, I think modern chatbots like ChatGPT, Gemini, Claude, and so on do surprisingly well. One of the biggest technical trends has been agentic workflows, in which you can go to an AI and let it write an essay outline on a topic, and then ask it, do you need to do any web research? If so, download a few web pages, put that into your large language model input, then write the first draft, and then read your own draft and critique it, and then find ways to improve it, and so on. And so with agentic systems, the workflow looks more iterative, where the AI system, maybe a large language model, is allowed to do some thinking, then revision, and then back to more thinking and revision and research. And by iterating around that loop multiple times, it takes a bit longer, but it delivers a much better quality work output. So in text processing, some of my teams and other teams are using this to process tricky legal documents, to do tariff compliance or medical diagnosis, lots of applications in text that we can build that we just could not have built without this type of agentic workflows. One of the things I'll touch on later is the application of these ideas to visual tasks rather than just text-based tasks. We'll come back to that in a second. In addition, so if you had to pay attention to one trend, mega trend for the last year, I would say is the rise of agentic AI. A second trend that I think is very important for investors is the rise of the application layer. So despite all the buzz around foundation models, most of the value created will be at the application layer rather than the foundation model layer. So I think of the AI stack as semiconductors, NVIDIA, AMD, and so on, then the hyperscalers, the large clouds, then the AI foundation model companies like OpenAI, Anthropic, Gemini, and so on. And a lot of the PR buzz has been on these technology layers. But almost by definition, there's another layer that's got to be even more valuable, which is the application layer, because that's got to generate even more revenue to be able to afford to pay the technology providers. So despite the success at foundation models at generating buzz, whenever there's new technology, media, social media tends to talk about the technology layers, and that's fine. Most of the value will has to accrue almost by definition to the application layer. Um, to those of you in large corporations or startups thinking about innovation, AI is making it possible to build prototypes very efficiently. And this is changing how businesses, both large enterprises and small startups, innovate and invent things. If you look at software engineering, one type of software is building quick and dirty prototypes. Another type of software is building big code bases, legacy software, or writing at-scale production software. It turns out that AI is helping both. For dealing with big pieces of software, maybe AI assistance is making you maybe, I don't know, 50% more efficient, depending on what consultant report you trust, which is a big deal, 50% more efficient. But for building quick and dirty prototypes, AI is not giving you a 50% boost, it's giving you like a 10x boost. And so in economics, if something becomes much cheaper, we buy a lot more of it. And so what I'm seeing is a lot of large enterprises are reworking their corporate innovation processes to say things like, you know what, if it costs us an engineer half a weekend to build a prototype, let's just build a lot of them. And the price of landing on 1 or 2 successful projects is build 20 prototypes to find the 2 that works. This is totally fine. And because the cost of prototyping is so low, it's actually okay. People have angst that a lot of POCs don't make into production, but the cost of the POC is, really small, is actually okay. And I see organizations reorganizing how they invent around this concept. The gravity of data is decreasing. So data gravity refers to this observation that if, say, you've stored all your data in one cloud, you just don't transfer a terabyte of data to another cloud for processing. But with generative AI, this is changing a little bit. And the reason is generative AI workloads are so compute intensive that the compute costs dwarf the transmission costs. So order of magnitude, if you have a gigabyte of data, transmission cost from one cloud to another, maybe 10 cents for a gigabyte of data, but processing a gigabyte of data, even on the cheaper AI models, say GPT-4 Mini, is on the order of $30, $40. So transmission cost is now fine, and I see teams now architecting these very distributed architectures where it's okay to ping data packets all over the internet and to orchestrate or coordinate many different activities to build a complex application. The last one is that visual AI is coming, and this will be big. So following the ChatGPT moment, we all saw the text processing revolution has arrived, and there are still so many text-based applications to be built that have not yet even been built. I think the next big modality will be image processing, which enables many new applications. This is actually what Dan Maloney and I over at Landing AI work on. And just to show you an example, this is a picture that I took, literally outside of those back doors of the rainy, outside where we had lunch and breakfast and so on. And I thought, let's look for black chairs. And so this runs for a few seconds. This is an agentic visual workflow where instead of needing to label data, train it, you just upload an image, type, find black chairs, and then it reasons for, it's actually 20, 30 seconds, but it finds all the black chairs and successfully ignores the transparent chairs. Previously, to do this, I would have to collect data, label data, train a model. It would have taken me, I don't know, days, maybe a small number of weeks to do that. Harder example, find planes with 2 engines. I think the first and some of the airplanes in the back have only 2 engines. And you just type what, this is a Kellogg's branded cereal, where instead of needing to collect a lot of data, train it, it just, tell what you want and you get a result. And so agentic workflows apply not just to text, but to images is enabling these things where you don't need to collect 1,000 images, patiently draw rectangles, label them, train a system, just type a prompt, get a result with agentic workflows adapted to images. Just one more example, I'll wrap, which is agentic document extraction. I bet all of your enterprises have tons of PDF documents. And the thing that is subtle is people think PDFs are text, but it's much more than text. So PDFs are fundamentally a visual representation of information where if you have a checkbox, it's actually the visual layout of where's the checkbox relative to text that conveys what was just checked, or graphs, charts. And it turns out that we've had OCR for a long time, or PDF to text, that tends to take a PDF document and just extract out the text, but it leaves a lot of the meaning on the table. So taking these ideas of agentic vision and applying to document understanding, one of our vision agents takes this text, breaks it down, so you can understand patient's relationship to employee self is checked, patient information, here's their insurance number. And by taking a document, having iterative agentic workflow, we can break down to pieces, reasonable pieces, or break this down to the chart and the title and so on, and extract by examining carefully the information from the chart. And also, just one last example, this is understanding diagrams as well, which is a core piece of meaning. So we're actually quite thrilled for a lot of users. I was not expecting so many people to email us unsolicited and say, yep, I've tried 10 traditional OCR and PDF to text approaches and they don't work. But when you take this agentic doc extraction approach, this works. And so there are kind of, I don't know, sovereign nations and so on reach out to us to explore if we can help process these very large volumes of documents that they have. So I think that the text processing revolution is already here, and we've already seen how exciting, wildly exciting that is. I think that technology I'm seeing is coming that is laying the foundation for visual processing revolution as well. And it turns out that certainly measured by gigabytes, most of the world's data is actually unstructured data, it's actually text, it's actually images and video. So I think there'll be this next big wave of even more applications that will come in the near future. Thank you.
Well, it's a little bit Matrix-like, one of those examples you showed with the green lights. Thank you, Andrew. So visual AI, I mean, digital twinning, we do a fair bit of that within our firm right now. Some good examples in the leisure industry with cruise ships. We've got twins of hospitals, and it's extremely valuable because you're able to run scenarios to see how things work in the twin before you take it to real life. And we were talking before we came in here about how we work together, using some of these incredible innovations that you have here at Landing.
EY has a lot of documents. So
yeah, we do.
We
do. It runs in the billions.
Wow.
And it's amazing. Somebody read them at some point, but there's a lot that's stored. So this is pretty impressive, Andrew. Talk to us about what sets you apart in Landing from others who would claim that they're doing a similar task.
I think I try to be very straightforward in my technology assessments.
Yeah.
I think our technologies I think is actually better than anything else I've seen in the world by a large margin. I'm trying not to hype things up because people tend to say stuff like that without being true. But in terms of agentic object detection and our ability to deep dive into documents and really figure out what it is, and a bunch of other things, the way we write vision, there's a bunch of things. I feel like we've been fortunate because Dan and I and our team have been innovating on this for years to create a core of agentic technology for deeply reasoning about images. And this lets us do things and understand images much more deeply than anything else I'm currently aware of. And I think this lets us also, work with partners to build the trust and safety and compliance and put it inside your firewall, or have the guardrails and so on. And so I think it makes it easy for businesses to unlock the power of their visual data. Maybe one fun thing I'm seeing. It turns out that by gigabytes, right? Most of the data in the world is images and video. It turns out I'm seeing a lot of large enterprises have a lot of visual data stored in bucket storage somewhere, kind of ignored because until now you did not have the capability to process it. So until maybe 3-4 years ago, most AI data processing was on structured data, meaning tables of numbers, like Excel spreadsheets. After the ChatGPT revolution, we started to process a lot more text data because we could finally do that. And then I think the next big unlock is all of these kind of dumb PDF files or dumb images or dumb videos sitting in bucket storage in the cloud that we just ignored because we couldn't do anything with it. We now have the ability to peer into that and get value out of it. And one consequence of that, which could be business with UI actually, is I see a lot of large enterprises rethinking the data architecture because now your ability to quickly get your PDF documents or your images to the right place, that data infrastructure is now suddenly much more valuable because getting the data to the right place to connect the dots and create value is now much more valuable than it used to be, 1 or 2 years ago.
Yeah. So when I think a little bit, Andrew, about integrating this into an existing organization, the value you can see. I mean, you just gave us a nice talk on how we could use it, but then getting to that having the data cleaned and organized and set out in a way that you're able to ingest and use it properly. So what strategies do you think organizations can use to integrate visual data the way we're describing it today into their flow, into their day-to-day?
So I think one nice thing is cost of prototyping is lower than ever before, and this gives organizations the opportunity to move really quickly. Um, so I think there's so many applications that maybe take the I don't know, take the chair detection one, right? If for some reason we actually had people reach out to us to look at restaurants, count the number of empty chairs or empty tables or whatever. And a few years ago, that would have been a 6-month project for me, right? To get data, label data, train an AI system. But now with these agentic workflows, there's much more visual intelligence you can bring to bear in minutes, maybe hours. And so it's possible to set your team to take some pictures or find some PDF files, upload them, get a result, see if it works, and get that proof point to then very quickly hopefully gain conviction. If it doesn't work, great, you find it really quickly. Or if it does work, then great, you find it really quickly. And then shortly thereafter, go into a scale-up plan. So um, the fact that the cost of prototyping, the cost of trying these things out is so low, means that organizations that have the discipline to, I think, get enough of the data infrastructure right. And please, I would say, don't spend 3 years getting the data right before you do any work, right? Go with your current data infra and keep improving along the way. But take the data you have, empower top-down driven as well as bottom-up innovation to quickly test out these projects, gain conviction, and then you may be surprised at how often and how quickly these things can be made to work. And then that allows you to solve the next hard problem, which is a good problem, which is how do you take a valuable POC and go into scale up?
So plan, but not too much. Jump in, get the prototype going, and get results as quickly as you can.
Yeah, in fact, one of the things I've seen, large organizations grind to a halt when there's too much protective DNA.
Yeah.
When we run large businesses, we don't want to, we worry, right? Will a random engineer ship something to customers and damage our brand, hurt our revenue, leak PII, breach compliance, whatever. So I find that a lot of large businesses end up moving slowly if if every innovation needs sign off from 3 C-suite executives, right? You're just never going to move anything because how can some innovative engineer get sign off from your head of marketing, head of legal, head of whatever? So that's how innovation grinds to a halt in many large organizations. But one thing I actually hope a lot of partners do is if you can re-architect the organization to create sandboxes so that you can let an engineer go in there. Here's a small set of PDF documents. There's no PII. Do whatever you want with it. And just don't ship this under the company website. Do whatever you want with it, but you're allowed to show the results only to our own employees. So the things like that you can do to create innovation sandboxes where your teams can have access to the resources, data, enough budget to experiment, but whatever they do cannot create downside for the organization. They're not gonna, break some law and have regulatory compliance problems or whatever. And so this gives you the freedom to let them innovate and run like crazy, and then hopefully demonstrate something that you are then ready to scale. So I see this sandbox concept to enable teams to innovate without needing to ask for permission all over the place to be a very helpful recipe for driving fast innovation.
So I'm curious, when we were talking outside before we came into the room with Dan, I think you've started the company 5 years ago. So what was your inspiration? Why did you do it?
I think 5 years ago, it was before when we got started in AI, we saw that there was a lot of visual AI technology to be built. And a lot of the work back then was actually in industrial automation and manufacturing. So we've been doing that, doing quite well, have a lot of manufacturing customers. But as the technology improved, we saw the text processing revolution. And by the way, I actually wrote about GPT-3 back in 2020. So we really saw it as public record. In 2020, I actually wrote publicly, GPT-3 is changing text processing, right? It's public record. So, and then I think shortly after, we saw also visual technology transforming. And so for the past couple of years, what our focus has been, Dan and our team, has been on driving that deep tech innovation to enable a lot more visual AI processing to be done. And frankly, I feel like it was only in the last 6 months that our technology, I think became really solid. And I feel like we're getting to that, chat GPT moment for visual AI equivalents.
So what's the next 3, 4, 5 years look like?
I think applications.
Yeah.
I think helping people build applications. I think technology now is good enough that there is very strong pull from the marketplace with teams that benchmark lots of things and say this is the first thing that they've seen that works with the application. And I think if you look at the diverse, if you look at text processing that large language models do, text is so diverse. I think images are equally diverse. And just as if you ask what are large language models good for, right? It's so general. It's good for so many things. And PDF documents and images more broadly are equally diverse. And so is it kind of processing government-oriented compliance paperwork or paperwork in a medical intake forms? They actually do a lot of biomed, medical document processing, or is it construction or bombs or invoices or financial documents? I think there's a lot of very wide diversity of use cases that we and a lot of others I expect will be working to build up.
So so Dan, this company is going to take off. So I have to ask about the workforce, and because I think it's a question that comes up often in all of these conversations. So agentic AI, visual AI, what is the impact on the workforce as this becomes more and more adopted?
So I think it'll be very exciting for individuals that want to learn AI and use it to direct AI to make yourself much more powerful. Um, I think my team, we've reflected. So, well, today, there are many job roles, say marketer, recruiter, or whatever, where I can't imagine hiring a marketer that doesn't know how to do web search, right? It's just, I can't imagine hiring a recruiter that doesn't know how to do web search. But web search was new. And so every marketer that want to stay on top of what's possible had to learn web search and maybe SEO and some other things. AI in the future, one of the most important skills for any knowledge worker is the ability to tell a computer exactly what you want so that it will do it for you. So people that understand computers well enough, frankly, to bend it to your will be much more powerful than people that don't. I think we're already approaching a point where I can't imagine hiring a marketer or a recruiter that doesn't know at least how to use an OM, use a large language model. But I think the bar continues to rise. And I am personally approaching the point where I struggle to think of hiring job roles for people that don't understand computers at an even deeper level than just prompting. Since talking about marketing, I find that my marketers that know how to code have a deeper understanding of computers and are better able to instruct AI to do things for them that marketers that don't know how to code are not able to do. So my advice to a lot of people is learn to code, not because writing code is the most important thing, but it's that deeper knowledge of how to instruct computers that will be critical. Maybe just one last quick story. Sometime back, was working on an online course, needed to generate artwork for the background. And I was working with a collaborator, Tommy Nelson, who had studied art history. So we're using Midjourney to create artwork, and Tommy knew the language of art. He could talk about history of art, the right genre, the artist's inspiration, the palette, the style, whatever. I don't know that language, so I could just say, please make pretty pictures of robots for me. Um, and, and so we use all of his artwork and none of mine. And I'm seeing something similar as well for a lot of knowledge work, with someone that understands computers deeply, that understands coding, understands how visual AI works, how the direct computers are able to much more precisely instruct a computer to do what you want. And that makes individuals, especially knowledge workers, much more powerful.
So there's a clock in front that says 0. So I'm not sure if that means they're going to hook us out. But any final thoughts, Andrew? I think we're up for time before we close.
Yeah, maybe.
Want to leave people with?
Yeah, so maybe if I just leave you one takeaway, I think build. This is a wonderful time to build with the tools that I think others have fortunately spent billions of dollars, right, training large AI foundation models. The tools that the large AI companies, that landing AI, and those of us working in visual AI, the tools are wonderful, and it makes it possible for any of us to do things that simply the best scientists and engineers in the world could not have done 2 years ago. Now, so many teams can do in a week what the best teams in the world could not have done 2 years ago. So the opportunity to build many new things is immense, and the cost of doing so is the lowest I've ever seen in my life. So I think, be it visual AI, which I'm excited about, or other things, I think my one message I hope I'll leave with all of you is go build, build, build.
Well, thank you, sir. Thank you. Terrific.